I'm going to start you off tomorrow, said Wolsey. The question is, what sort of angel do you want to be? What sort of angels are there, said Fred. Who have been busy waiting to become an angel of any sort that he hadn't stopped think about the details. All sorts, said Wolsey. Some angels spent all day playing, and some angels on the keep heaven tidy campaign, and some angels look after lost causes, and some angels go around being generally helpful, but I had something special in mind for you to begin with. That's very kind of you, Wolsey, said Fred. Angels are very kind, said Wolsey. You ought to know that. Yes, Wolsey, said Fred. I thought we might start you off with urgent prayers, said Wolsey. Oh, said Fred, think big ones, small ones, said Wolsey. Small prayers are just as important as big ones. The person who's doing a praying. Small urgent prayers to begin with, said Fred happily. The next morning, Wolsey took Fred to the stores and allowed to pick his cloud for dashing about on a pair of wings to practice with for his rings. Use a map of the part of Glasgow where he has to look after small urgent prayers. Great, said Fred, and off he went. His first job was urgent prayer about Sarasot's kitten. Zoom! Off went from his cloud until he spied the kitten, which was wandering up a Benson road. Fred couldn't zoom round down and grab it. That is the way angels do things. He had to rush back to Sarah and make her think it would be a good idea to ask her dad to look for a kitten. Then he had to make her dad agree to go out and search. Even thought he was tired of the hard day at the hospital, and then Fred had to make Sarah's dad turn left, not right, at the crossroads, and he had to make sure Sarah's kitten wasn't run over by a lorry. Was I lucky, Sarah? Sarah said when he came back home with kitten. Yes, it was, said Sarah, who had forgotten all about her small urgent playing assignment, but Fred didn't mind. He was only doing his job. The next player was easy, because Gran wanted the baby and let her go to sleep. Normally Fred would have sung a leisure by Wolsey, how he wasn't allowed to sing. So Fred played his harp instead. Angels' harp are odd, and Fred's playing in third with a TV reception. A lot of people got cross and shout rude things, but Fred being an angel, I didn't understand the rude thing, and he went on playing until baby Alicia went to sleep. The next player looked easy, but it wasn't. It was from farmer who wanted rain to make things grow. When Fred went to check the records, he found that there was already a prayer on the file to Darren. The cost gave wanted to find fine weather for his picnic with Catherine and James. Fred didn't know what to do, so he asked Wolsey 3 until 5. Said Fred. Let it rain up to 2 o'clock. Then he had sunshine until 6, and it can rain again for a farmer, said Rosie. And as it was Fred arranged angels are very fair about prayers and try to get them right when they can. The farmer got his rain, and little Tom Cosgrave got sun for his picnic with Catherine and James. Then Fred got a prayer for a new doll he asked, which he turned down because the girl had 10 already. After that become that he got one of her tooth stop toothache hurting, which was silly because the tooth only hurts because it needed filling. If it wasn't filled, it would hurt much more in the end. Next, he got half a dozen players, more one than the other, for a team to score a goal. And he granted them because they came 3-a-side, and that made the result of a football match draw. 3 goals each. By this time, Fred was tired out, so he thought he would soon back to heaven for some refreshment. He parked his cloud outside the Golden Gate and went in for some wine and honey and a sipple from Hermione, the loveliest angel of them all. When she came out again, his cloud was gone. Gone, gasped Fred in dismay. What's he gone? Said Rosie, who's the chief of inspector of the angels have been fluttering close to Fred most of the morning. I thought Fred hadn't seen him. My cloud, said Fred. I left it outside, and now somebody has gone off in it. I see it, said Worsley. It was nice one too, said Fred. I picked that one when you showed to me. Because it was pink, there are many pink clouds around. I know, said Worsley. He knew because Rosie had made Fred take that particular cloud in the same way Fred made Sarah Dad go out to look for Kitten Dad in the way and angels do things. Now it's gone, said Fred. What are you going to do about it? Asked Rosie. Go look for it, I suppose, said Fred, beginning to sound grumpy. Angels, said Fred. And you should like Grumpy, and Fred knew that. But he was proud of this cloud and very upset losing it. If that is what you think best, you must do it, said Rosie. Bought one of the grey clouds from a store. Fred looked one of the grey clouds. It was tatty round the edge and not the least pink. It was very fast, but it was the best of a bad bunch. He went off on it too hard for his cloud. He went round the goalhouse and fought Cardinal over the eyebrows, and round the pocket, but it couldn't find the cloud anywhere. Fred went back to heaven for a quick hymn to cheer himself up, and he met his friend Oscar, the poetic angel, and he asked Oscar if Oscar had seen a missing pink cloud. Said Oscar. Where did you get it? Rosie said gave it to me, said Fred. Oh, did he? Said Oscar, and he zoomed out of his cloud, gave a poetry reading from his very own book of poems, without so much as trying to be helpful. Very badly he behaved. For an angel, I must say, grumbled Fred. Do you think so? Said Rosie, popping up from just behind Fred yet. Yet again. Just like a poet, said Fred. He's in a head in the clouds. No time to be helpful. Maybe he was trying to help by not helping Fred, said Worsley. How can not help being helpful? Asked Fred. Perhaps you knew it was important for you to think it out yourself, said Worsley. I have thought about it, said Fred impatiently. I have been dashing over Glasgow thinking about it. Do you do your best? Do you do your best thinking dashing about? Asked Worsley, and Fred shook his head. I suggest you try again. I'm afraid if you can't think it out for yourself, you're going to fail your first test. Oh dear, said Fred. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, and he rushed up to look for his cloud again. Don't rush, Fred, called Worsley. Sorry, said Fred. Fred went on very slowly. He had another look around Glasgow, checking out the airport and the railway station and Sauchiehall House Street. It was past 6 o'clock by now and raining. Just as Fred had arranged for the farmer, so there were plenty of clouds, but none of them were pink. I'm going to fail my first test, and then Worsley won't let me be an angel again. After all, Fred thought miserably. I must cheer myself up, he said. Angels are supposed to be cheer up, not miserable. So Fred went off Tom's close grave house and the farmer's house of Tom and the baby Alicia's house and the football's houses and Sarah's house to cheer himself up, but it didn't work. They're so happy now. I wish it wasn't easy for me, Fred muttered. Why is it easy for them? Asked Rosie, putting another of his surprise appearances by Fred's side. Fred was perched up on top of a branch of a tall tree in Sarah's garden, and Rosie had almost knocked him off it. When they had problems, all they had to do was pray. An angel popped out to them. Help them, said Fred. Ahem, said Rosie, and he started whistling and looking at the sky. Pray, asked Fred. It wouldn't work, we'll get it. If you don't believe in prayers, nobody will, said Rosie. Rather impactfully. Just a little on a quicker, said Fred. Doubly. Speed is not important, said Rosie. So Fred is trying to be a prayer, and a prayer would one pink cloud, said Rosie. As the cloud came drifting down to the top of a trees in Sarah's garden. My cloud, said Fred. Rather God than I thought, said Rosie. I must be chief inspector of angels, but I can still do my bit when it comes to small urgent prayers if requested. Worsley said nervously, does this mean I failed? No, said Worsley. You've passed. No one can be an angel who doesn't believe in prayer. You can continue as usual, Fred. Or worse, he said delightfully. Thank you very, very much. Don't thank me, said Rose. Just a little prayer. Beware, Ogre, by Gillian Cross. Illustrated by Arthur Robbins. Fiona hates crust and skin and peel and all the froth. Chewy outsides of things, but People never stop nagging her about them. Eat your apple peel, said her mother. It'll give you rosy cheeks. Fiona cut off a peel and hung it on a washing line for the birds. Don't leave your potato jackets, her father said. They'll make your eyes sparkle. Fiona screwed them up and shot them through with window with her catapult. Finish your crust, said her grandmother. They give you nice curly hair. Who wants curly hair? Fiona hid the crust in her pocket and took them down the garden to feed the hedgehog. No one could make her eat outside of anything until the day she went down to the baker's to buy a bread on her own. It was nearly closing time. She roller skated all the way down the hill and straight to the shop. A large brown loaf and 3 donuts, please, Fiona said. Yes, ma'am. The baker put them into a backpack and smiled to her. How about a little treat, a nice crusty roll, he said. No, thank you, I don't like crusts, Fiona replied. You don't like, well, bless my soul. The baker leaned over the counter to look at her more closely. Even everyone knows the crust the best part, the baker said. It makes your hair curl. I don't want curly hair, said Fiona. Crusts are horrible. So it's right pudding skin, an apple peel, and everything that comes on the outside of foods. I hate outsides. Do you know, said the baker. Well, fancy that. Maybe I off semi-fend Olga to see you. She loves outsides. And he stood in a shop doorway, watching Fiona thoughtfully as she skated back off a hill. The next day, just before tea, Fiona was in the garden making a dam. She saw a reflection in the pond and looked up. There stood a strange girl exactly tall as Fiona, but quite different. Her teeth gleamed. Her cheeks were rosy, and her head stuck out in corkscrew curls. Hello, said the girl. I'm Olga. The baker sent me. Can I come to tea? Fiona blinked. Well, Before Fiona could get any further, Olga was at the back door, waiting to be let in. Fiona opened the door and called Mum. Her mother yelled back from upstairs, I'm busy, your tea. Tea's on the table. Tea, said Olga. Zap, she was fought through the door and into a dining room. When Fiona caught up with her, she was gazing at the table. She snatched up a cheese sandwich and zap! All the crust was gone. Grinding, she flicked the sandwich across the table onto Fiona's plate and picked up another one. Fiona started to eat sandwich, but she was only halfway through when Olga tossed her the second one, and then another. In 10 minutes, there was nothing left, not even a crust. What's next? Olga said. Fiona swallowed her last mouthful and looked at the table. Warm milk and blancmange, she said. And then little kegs. Olga looked at the warm milk and her eyes gleamed. Skin! She grabbed the mug and hugged the skin off with her long pink tongue. Then she passed the milk back to Fiona. Fantastic, Fiona took at the milk and looked hopefully at the blancmange. Could you? Olga smiled. Zap! That blancmange vanished. Fiona grinned. This is really good. And she took a huge spoonful of blancmange. Before she could swallow it, Olga turned to her cakes. Outside for me and inside for you, okay? Fiona's mouth was full of blancmange. She wanted to stop Olga, but she couldn't get the words out quickly enough. Zap! Before Fiona could speak, Olga ate all the icing and left with plain cakes. That's not fair, Fiona said. Olga tossed her curls. Yes, it is. You don't like outside. I like icing. Icing is outside. Icing makes your fingernails shine. What's next? Olga looked around and saw the fruit bowl on her sideboard. That before Fiona could stop her, she had eaten all the apple peel and banana skins. Fiona stared at the bananas for a moment, feeling rather peculiar. Then she grabbed the fruit bowl and pushed it into her sideboard to save the grapes. When she turned around, the zoom was empty, and there was strange slurping noise come from the kitchen. Slurp, slurp! Olga was sitting on the floor by the fridge, licking cream off a trifle and eating outside of sausage rolls. Stop! Fiona grabbed Olga's shoulder and tried to drag her away, but it was impossible. She was solid as a rock. Olga grinned and grabbed 3 yogurt cartons out of the fridge. That's silly, said Fiona. Yogurt hasn't got to the side. Oh, yes it has, cried Olga. But delicious outside. Olga bit through a plastic carton, chewing up like a biscuit. The yogurt dribbled down her chin and ran all over the floor. Olga licked her lips and reached for a milk bottle. Fiona ran into the hall and grabbed her skateboard. There was only one thing to do. A second later, she was whizzing down the hill towards the baker shop. She zoomed in the door, bumped into an old lady buying a cream cake, and went sailing up in the air. She landed behind the counter, and the baker looked down at her. Olga? Yes, wailed Fiona. How do I get rid of her? We'll see about that. The baker pulled the end of the loaf and began to chew it. Then he pulled the knot a bit and held it out Fiona. But I don't, she started to say. He looked after her. She took his crust and bit into her. And the baker smiled. There's only one to get rid of Olga, the baker said. Please tell me you've got to get her to eat inside of something. But she won't. The baker smiled again and he reached under the counter and pulled a piece of paper. Try this pineapple upside down cake, it said. Chewing her crust, Fiona trudged back up a hill, reading a piece of paper as she went. She pushed open the kitchen door, and wee bam! She slipped on a raw egg, skidded across the floor, and landed a puddle of baked beans. Olga was eating her tins. There were big bites of her jam johns too, the cornflakes and packet, and their orange squash bottles and sugar bags. The things from inside were scattered everywhere, and Olga grinding lovely outsides.